into Eretz Israel, unable to enter. What a man, what a divine man, what a hero for our people, Moshe Rabbeinu. It's small wonder that there are midrashim about Moshe Rabbeinu that indicate that he was 10 cubits tall. It symbolizes his stature above all others. Philosophers have a discussion through the centuries, and especially in recent times, historiographers deal with it as a problem in history. Do men mold the times, or do the times make the people? Great men. There were philosophers, Carlyle, Nietzsche, others, who said that great men shape history. On the other hand, there were others like Spencer and Macaulay who said that history makes men, and that they rise to the moments of history. Tolstoy wrote his greatest work, War and Peace, to demonstrate that Napoleon was but a pawn in the inexorable march of time. But neither side perceived a Jewish truth, perceived what Jewish thinkers saw, that whether it is the men that shape the times and the times that shape men, and truly it's both, that if you really want to know the nature of a people, then look at its heroes. If you want to know what a nation is like, look at the people they revere, the people up to whom they look. People perceive the personification of their national ideals in their national heroes. Why did the Romans idolize Julius Caesar, or the Greeks, Alexander the Great? Because they were conquerors, military conquerors, and power fascinated them. Why did Germany make a hero out of Bismarck? Because he was a ruthless politician, and they admired ruthlessness. We saw it, of course. Why does the Jew recognize Moshe Rabbeinu as the hero of heroes? Because of his compassion, his love for justice, because he was our teacher of teachers, because of his readiness to sacrifice himself for our people. What did we see in Eliyahu Hanavi? Fearlessness for the sake of righteousness, but also that compassionate teaching that makes him the symbol of the Mashiach to come. Examining all of our history and all of the great men of our people, Moshe Rabbeinu, Kibo, Meir, Danossi, Rambam, Rashi, Vilna Gaon, see that there is one category to which they fall, the London on the one hand, and those very same people and others, Aaron, Shmuel HaKoton, the Baal Shem Tov, Lady Yitzchak Bardichi, the Tzaddik on the other. The London and the Tzaddik, these are the heroes of the Jewish people. And this tells us something about the people that we are. It is with this lesson, with this thought, that I ask you to greet your rabbi and rebbe, because just such families do they come from. Symbol of the heroes of our people. The Walken family is so well known that it is almost redundant for me to tell you who they are. Shmuel David Wolfen's Zechrono Levracha. His book is a book of his now being published by his son. He is father of Aaron Volkin, Rav and Abbezdin of Pinsk, a student of the Netziv of Volozhin. 14 great and important volumes of Jewish law came from out of his pen, like the Rambam's Yada Chazoku. And the generations from way back, you will get to know your Rebbetzin and you'll understand that she doesn't only come from a family of Lamdanim, but also from a family of Tzaddik. But the Wolkin name is very famous in New York. Not quite as famous as the name of Kelemer here, and so I am here to tell you something about the father of your rabbi, David Kelemer. Because he was the chazan in the shul that I was the rav in Los Angeles. He was more than a chazan. And I'll tell you something about him. Sweet, humble, modest, kind, fine, revered, loved by everyone, Edelkeit personified. He was a tzaddik, and I do not use the word lightly or loosely. And he was a scholar of London, excelled by none that I knew. The first awareness that I had of his scholarship was his fantastic knowledge of the Bible, the Torah. And then I learned that he won an international scholarship with the Tugudat Yerushalayim. In Jerusalem, he was awarded an international scholarship for knowledge of Tanakh, and so I understood, an international prize, first prize. I will tell you more about him, but I want you to know that this was on both sides. His beloved wife who died shortly before I came. I understand that she was his perfect Ezer Kinect. And yet, and also, a scholar in her own right. Now, in the shul that I had been in Los Angeles for 8 years, there were many great chazanim before I came. It was a shul that had been established, and they had great voices. Label at Glantz was one of them, and many others. But the names are not known. Nobody in Los Angeles remembers, unless you remember, oh yes, we had this one and we had that one. There's one name that everybody knows and no one will ever forget, and that's the name of Berel Kelemer. Not only because of his nasikas, and he had a beautiful and sweetest voice, but because of his personality, his humility, his care, his love for his fellow men. Shabbos, he would go from house to house before he would come home to give a good Shabbos and to bring good cheer, especially to those who felt needed. Each day of the week, he would deal in a medrash every morning with another such man, Mr. Kolov's Chronology. And both of them would run a welfare society. They would get money and packages from everywhere in Los Angeles they could, put it together, and they had a steady stream of people coming and to give out the tzedakah every single day. And they had an awareness. This one needs $8 a day, this one needs $10 a day, and so on. And they would give it out. They would give it out willingly and happily. And if there was a man who didn't come a particular day, they would get into a car and go over to his house to find out what's wrong. Maybe he's not well enough, and would bring it to him, and would inquire, and whatever needs there were, they would try to satisfy. This was the kind of a person this was. That's why he is revered in Los Angeles. Revered. His Achosas Orchim, his and hers, unparalleled. Everyone who would come into town, he would be the first one to go to the airport. He didn't want anybody else to come before him, and he would wait there so that he could invite them to his home. And that's where everybody stayed when they came to Los Angeles. Always learning, always teaching, And the most important thing, of course, the education of his children. In Los Angeles, they know him as Georgie. But Rabbi Kelemer was known as a scholar, as a sage, even as a young man, even before he went away to learn, to near and everywhere. And thanks to his scholarly thought. Now, a man like this knew the meaning of prayers like no one else could. And so his prayers, when he davened for the others, you knew that it came from his heart. And I once asked him, unwittingly, at the time that he was very sick, it was towards the end, and I said to him, you know, it's time the congregation is used to singing it a little faster. Perhaps you could sing it in a more lively tune. And he said to me with his beautiful smile, you know, I sing like I feel, and today I'm not feeling happy. He sang like he felt. And beyond that, he expressed himself beyond song. Song wasn't enough for him. For every occasion, he would write a tefillah, and he would sing it to his own music. What a tefillah he could write for an occasion like this. It would come out of his heart. I used to tell him, and I believe it, Berle, you are not a chazan. You are a python. You're the only one, an anachronism of the olden times, those great sages who created the siddur, who created the maser, who were able to express themselves in the beautiful poetry of our people and express the feelings of our people in the beautiful language of the Torah in the Lashon HaKodesh. That is the father of the man who is so today. Such a man and woman come from many generations of Lamdonim and Tzaddikim. And the reason I use the word Tzaddik, as said, is not right. Rabbi Kelemer was the 9th generation from the Baal Shem Tov, directly. And so your rabbi is the 10th generation descendant from the Baal Shem Tov. Scholars, righteous men, men of loving kindness, such are the ideals of our people. Revering them and following them reflects well on our people who perceive their own values and ideals in their heroes. It therefore speaks well for this congregation and this community, and is greatly to your credit and your honor that you have chosen as your rabbi, as your leader of the Spirit, a man who walks in such a tradition of Lamdonim and Tzaddikim. And I know that your rabbi, too, is greatly to be praised for his choice, not only of the congregation of the Young Israel of West Hempstead, known for its achievements, but also for his earlier and even more important choice, you'll forgive me for saying it, of Ezer Kinecto, of his wife, who does honor to the great tradition from which he comes and she comes, and the spirit in which they go through. The folk surprised me also, but at the request of you who already answered, my dear and loved brother-in-law, give a bracha beyond behalf of the family. My father's a my little brother. Was always very impressed of the abilities of his young son-in-law, Yehuda, which he showed as being a rabbi. I would like to mention a story that my father has said in the name of the Meir Shapiro, the founder of the Daf Yomi. He was once asked, the Meir Shapiro, there were so many Rabbanim in Europe, thousands of years of Rabbanim. In Yirtzeh Hashem, when Chiyas and Mason will come, who will be the Rav? There are so many Rabbanim to choose from. Who is to be the Rav? So Rabbi Shapiro answered that each Rav will be the Rav over his community. So again he was asked,
community was not Zaykin T.S. Mason in the Rav was. So the mayor should be the answer that such a Rav also won't be Zaykin T.S. I'm sure that my father's a great brother, if he would have been here at this moment, he would have had great numbers to see how his young son-in-law has progressed as being a Rav up to this day. It is my brother, for me, for my mother's oldest son, from the rest of the family, that this congregation should recognize the qualities of this Rav, that not only you have gotten a Rav, but also you have gotten a Rosh Yeshiva, a great Torah learner, and above a Rosh Yeshiva, also a Mashgiach, a person that looks into everyone individual hashgacha pratis to each member of his congregation. And it is my hope, it is my wish, just like this coming Seder, we read by He, Vishalach, Haro Esohom, that Klal Yisrael was Zocher to go out of Mitzrayim. Let the Eibishter also make this community change the name a little from West Hempstead to maybe East Homestead, to become a cornerstone of Mashiach. It should become a cornerstone that we should be zeicher to the Gula Hasidah. And like we say in the Hallel, I saw Yehuda Lekachai. Yehuda became his chosen one, the Yisrael, and this congregation, Mam Shalai So.
Many of us have heard about Rabbi Kelemer's varied accomplishments in the greater Boston Jewish community as Rabbi of Young Israel of Brookline. Our next speaker, who too is a leader in the American Orthodox Rabbinate, is someone who shared a close friendship with Rabbi Kelemer during his 10 years in Brookline, and who often worked with him in areas of mutual interest. I am very pleased to introduce to you the Rabbi of the Jewish Center in New York City, formerly of the Young Israel of Sharon, Massachusetts, Rabbi Jacob Schachter. Thank you, Dr. Lachtel. By nature, you can see, I'm sure already, that I'm a short speaker, so I will not keep you long. I'm sure that by now all of us, myself included, are very anxious to hear the words of our new Baruch Asra, Rabbi Kelemer. But I nevertheless want to spend a few minutes describing him in a short way to you this evening. Rabbi Shulman spoke about the family. I want to speak about the man. I believe that it's very appropriate that I have come to express words of Shevach and Shira to Rabbi Kelemer and to his wife in their honor during the week of Shabbos Shira, when all of Klal Yisrael will sing words of Shevach, of praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ashira LaHashem ki ga'al ga'al. I sing to God, I praise God, for He is highly exalted. Aziv Zimras Ka Vayihili Yeshua. God is my might and my song, and has been my salvation. Ze Keli v'Yanvehu, Elokei Avi v'Aron Emenhu. This is my God, and I will glorify him, the God of my father, and I will exalt him. Ze Keli v'Yanvehu. How does one go about fulfilling this verse? How does one go about glorifying God? And how can I best describe the qualities and the characteristics of an outstanding Rav, of a wonderful human being, and of a good friend? Chazal offer three interpretations of this pasuk. Rashi says, "Ve'anvehu lashon noi," anvehu in the sense of beauty. Asaper noyo ushvacho l'chol ba'ei olam. I will relate his beauty and his praise to all the inhabitants of the world. You want to be mekayim, to fulfill Zekeli v'Yanvehu, you do so through sipur, through articulating, through making a statement, declaring publicly b'fnei am ve'eda the beauty of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the praise of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But statements, as important as they are not enough. And so the Gemara tells us in Masechah Shabbos, Kuf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis, Tanya Zekeli v'Yanvehu, the famous interpretation, Isnoel in front of the mitzvot. Beautify yourself before God through the observance of mitzvot. Asay lefanav sukkah no'eh, lulav no'eh, tzitzis no'im, sefer Torah no'eh. You want to glorify God, the Gemara says, do mitzvahs. Do the actual observance of Kiyam HaTorah. Will come the Shevach for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then the third interpretation in Masechet Shabbos, Abishal Omer Zekeli v'Yanvehu, how does one glorify God? Hevedom elo, be similar to God. Mahu Chanun v'Rachum, as God is gracious and as God is merciful. Afatov, Chanun v'Rachum, you too be gracious and you too be merciful. It's not enough to declare the wonders of God, and it's not enough to have a beautiful sukkah or an exquisite esrog, but you have to be a mensch. You have to be Chanun v'Rachum, and thereby reflect the midos, the attributes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so Zekeli v'Yanvehu of the Shiras Hayams has three components. Number one, what we say, Asaper noyo ushvacho. Number two is what we do, Hisnoel lefanav b'mitzvos. And finally, number three is what we are, Mahu Rachum v'Chanun, Afatov Rachum v'Chanun. It is indeed for me a great zchus and a special privilege to have been invited here this evening to tell you just a little bit about your new Moreh D'Asra, Rabbi Yehuda Kelemer, and his Rebbetzin. I am sure that you realize that it's virtually impossible to distill 10 years of extraordinary activity and accomplishments into a few minutes. But I hope to give you just a small sense of the zchusim that you must have to have been granted the wisdom and the insight to have elected Rabbi Kelemer as your Moreh D'Asra. First, in the realm of Sipur, I asked Rabbi Kelemer Mechila in advance. He may be uncomfortable. I know he's going to be uncomfortable with what I'm going to say, but I feel that you should know it, and I'm making believe that he's not sitting here and he's not listening. Rabbi Kelemer is an outstanding posek. He has tremendous bekiyas in Arba'a Chelkei Shulchan Aruch, and when you look at him, he's a young man and you don't believe it. But I know from first-hand experience, I was a rabbi in a neighboring community, all kinds of shilas came my way, and Rabbi Kelemer was my posek. Arachayim, Yeridea, across the board, and he knew it well, and he knew it right away on his fingertips. He's also very clear. He explains why he paskins in a certain way. And perhaps even more important, he's a sensitive posek. He understands psak and ramifications of such. Rabbi Kelemer in Boston was an outstanding teacher. His shiurim, clear, intelligible, and well appreciated on so many different areas, well attended and often marked. There's so much more I could say, but I must move on to the next area, the area of action, of Maisa. I first met Rabbi Kelemer close to 15 years ago, when both he and I were Talmidim of the Mir Yeshiva in Yerushalayim. There's one thing that struck me then about him that I still remember, and that is how quickly he used to walk. He used to fly into the Beis Medrash. He was always on the move, constantly a man of action from then through today. Within this rubric of action, I want to underscore just one little aspect: his unbelievable contribution to the Boston community in the area of kashrus. Rabbi Kelemer is responsible for the first Shomer Shabbos bakery in Brookline and the entire Boston area, under his supervision. The first Shomer Shabbos dairy restaurant, under Rabbi Kelemer's hashgacha. The first Shomer Shabbos butcher, under Rabbi Kelemer's hashgacha. The second Shomer Shabbos dairy restaurant in downtown Boston, under Rabbi Kelemer's hashgacha, and you think that alone is enough, but I tell you, not one penny. Rabbi Kelemer did not take one penny, all l'shem shamayim, all for the sake of his community. There's much more I can say, and I would like to say, about the mikveh, Chevra Kadisha, the community-wide education programs that he instituted, medical ethics, handicapped children across the board. But I want to move into the last area. Mahu Rachum V'Chanun, Afator Rachum V'Chanun. In addition to being an outstanding prosek, in addition to being an activist for mitzvos on all levels, Rabbi Kelemer is a genuine Baal Chesed and a real Ohev Yisrael. He helped everybody in Boston, whether or not they were members of his congregation. There was the old lady in the housing project downtown who would call him whenever there was no heat at her apartment. There was a man who didn't have a home, didn't have where to sleep. He would come to the Young Israel every once in a while, and Rabbi Kelemer would accept him and befriend him and recognize him. Rabbi Kelemer is worried now about what's going to happen to these people and to hundreds of others now that he's no longer the rabbi of that Young Israel. On Kol Nidre night, I tell you from my own experience, every rabbi runs home to rest, take it easy, to gather strength for the next day that lies ahead. Rabbi Kelemer would run to the hospitals, about a mile away from his home, to visit the children, to visit the sick, to visit total strangers, because he knew they would feel alone the night of Yom Kippur. Who's going to come to visit them? I know about these only by accident, and I'm sure that there are hundreds and hundreds of other stories of people whose lives he touched in such a close and meaningful way. When it comes to Chesed, Rabbi Kelemer is already a legend in the Brookline community. Soviet Jewry, Iranian Jewry, Sephardic Jewry, all disenfranchised Jews found a home in his heart, and through him, in the Young Israel of Brooklyn. Ma Hashem Doresh Mimcha, the Navi says, what does God require of you? Yemasos Mishpat, Va'avas Chesed, V'hatznei Aleches in Avakecha. To do justly, to love Chesed, and to walk humbly together with God. I also want to say a word about your new Rebbitzin. All the cliches I could say are certainly true. He couldn't have done it without her. Their house was always open, but I want you to know that you could learn from her. In her own quiet and unassuming way, she can teach you a great deal, as she has taught so many in the Brookline community. She has touched the lives personally of people in all walks of life, and people in all stages of their lives. And so it's very clear from all perspectives that you have made a very wise choice. I say with genuine honesty that if my job would not require me to live in Manhattan, I would certainly move